everyone, welcome to Stuti's World. In this episode today, we talk to an upcoming virtual assistant and social media manager coach. She has been a freelancer and worked as a social media manager and virtual assistant for a few months now, and it turned out that she has a lot more to give others. She has a lot more knowledge that she can share with others, and a lot of people are looking for guidance, and so she turned into a coach. She has her own course coming up, the Zero to Action Academy, and we spoke to her about it. We spoke to her about work-life balance, the time management, flexibility, how to lay down your offer, and how to be specific of the services that you give to the clients, and a lot more in this episode. So we also end the episode with a very good message that came off as we had the conversation. There are a few distractions here and there owing to this little sweetheart here, but apart from that, it has been a wonderful conversation.
Okay, so first of all, Anaga, welcome as the first guest of the new season of the podcast. I am so happy that you have agreed to be part of my podcast.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so first of all, from being an engineer based on what you studied to a wedding planner and a freelancer, how did your journey begin?
Okay, so basically, even before engineering, I knew I wanted to become a wedding planner. I wanted to do something creative. But then I didn't know what was the direction. There was nobody to guide me through this. And when my parents told that you don't know what this career has for you in the store, you never know if it is real, if it's a well-paying thing and all of that. So why don't you just do engineering for backup and then do whatever you want? Once you're engineering, वैसे भी you have to do one degree, na? So do engineering, which is like a safer degree, and then you do whatever you want. I stuck to it because I didn't know how to convince my parents to become a wedding planner. There wasn't any degree for wedding planning itself. It was just like smaller courses to do. So I thought might as well just do engineering. So I did engineering, and even like through the final year, I was very sure that I don't want to be an engineer. I did engineering only for backup.
Okay, one second. Just so once you completed your engineering, did you think about looking for an engineering job or going on placement
when I was in final year, placements happened, and then I had to sit for placements because I was eligible, so might as well my classmates, my lecturers were all like sit for placement. So I sat for placement. I got placed also. Again, it was not like a great company that I got placed in, but pretty good one. I was a civil engineer, so there's no, Infosys or, Google happening anyway. So it was a pretty decent company that I got placed in, but again, I was not at all happy. So what I did was I did like a Google search, top 20 wedding planners of Bangalore. Cold emailed all of them. Got responses from 4 of them, out of which only one called me for interview, got selected. So once engineering finished, they waited for me for 2 months because engineering wasn't over yet. They were ready to wait for me. So then I think on a Sunday, I shifted from my hostel to my house in Bangalore. Monday, I was joining the job. I was the first one to join the job. Quite a lot of them were placed. They had their letters in hand. Yeah, but I was the first one to go to job. I went to office first from my batch. But then it was a great company, but I had to move to it was in Bangalore. I had to move to Mangalore because I was getting married after a year. So that's when my career kind of changed, because here I didn't get really I was not because in Bangalore I was working with one of the top wedding planners. In Bangalore, it is still a very new venture.
Yes,
it's still growing. And also Bangalore market is quite different when it comes to Bangalore market. Bangalore people are ready to lavishly spend on weddings, but Bangalore people are still very concerned about how much, even though they're ready to put 10 lakh in, they are concerned as to where the money is going. So it's not that much of a bigger opportunity. So that's when I tried several other things in life because I didn't know I became a civil engineer also for a while. I was doing some sales in some company. So I tried quite a lot of stuff. And then finally, this was also another thing that I was trying, which clicked.
So how did you start as a social media manager or a freelancer? Did you again do the cold calling thing, or
yeah, so I did a course. I was just stumbling upon several things and on like googling like every day, and then another friend of mine also said, I was very active on social media, be it like very long back on Facebook, or even like later on, like I think around 3 to 4 years ago I started Instagram as well. Just my regular updates, but I was very active, very active on stories, very active on posts and things like that. So my friend was like, since you're very active on social media, you must be interested, you can try your hand at digital marketing. I was like, oh, what is this digital marketing? And then I did a course, couple other webinars, mini courses and stuff, and then I started off from there, which kind of interested me. And then though I did a course on digital marketing, I learned about social media management later, like eventually through that course. And then like digital marketing is more like analytics, insights and stuff, whereas social media, though insights is there, it's also very creative. You're coming up with content writing, you're writing captions, you're making designs and stuff like that. So that was something which interested me more, and then I headed that way.
Okay, great. So was it easy for you to bag your first client, or did you face any hurdles with that?
Initially, it wasn't really hard for me. So the first 2 clients was very easy for me. I don't even know how it happened, but she saw my profile and she was like, I absolutely love you. It was an international client, and she was like, I absolutely love your work. I'll just make the payment. I thought it's a fluke. I was like, why is somebody liking my work so much suddenly? And so she was like, I really love your captions. So very nice, very nice. I was like, like somebody somewhere is sitting me and making me a bakra. But turns out she signed a 3-month contract and sent 2 months advance. I was like, whoa, this is legit. So after the first one, even the second one was pretty easy. And then I had a bit of like a pause, like where I wasn't, those 2 stayed for a while, but then I didn't have anyone for a while. And then it took about 3 to 4 months to really make more, get more clients and scale up that way.
Okay. Now, does having an online job give you that work life, that flexibility with time, or do you struggle with it? Like sometimes, the client may have some urgent needs and you may have allotted time as free time. And how often does time flexibility work out for you?
So actually majorly it does work out, because we have a couple of rules. This is again, I've learned over time. I've not learned this, I've not been like this from forever. I had to even drop a client because this international client knew that I'm in India and our time zones are different, and I had clearly mentioned that I have a 24-hour turnaround. Like say you tell me today 12 p.m, I need time till tomorrow 12 p.m. to submit any task for that matter. But she became a quite irritating types, and she told one day I was just up at I woke up at 2 a.m. and she had bombarded me with 5 messages and like an urgent task for me, and which I had to do. Like I couldn't say no. I'm a little bit I'm a little bit like that. Like I can't say no very easily. So I had to open my laptop from I woke up from sleep, open my laptop. But that's the day I realized that this is not what I this is not something that I want to do. As in, this is not why I chose this career in the first place. I chose this career for the flexibility it had to offer. So that's when the next day I made up my mind and I told her that I want to drop this thing, because it's not because of anything else, but it's majorly because of the expectation and the the demand that you have, and which I'm not able to, which I won't be able. So it's something that as a as a freelancer, I feel like you can draw your own boundaries, and you have to choose to draw your own boundaries. Otherwise, anybody will take advantage of it.
They would take
and then again, when people say that you are your own boss, you're not answerable to anyone, I don't agree completely with it, because ultimately there is a client that's paying you and you are answerable to them, but you can set your boundaries, unlike a regular job.
Okay, that is, I think, a very important nugget for any new freelancer who is getting into the journey
Correct.
to set specific
The
boundaries.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Anagha, what does your typical work day look like? Like from morning to evening? How do you divide your work?
Oh, so usually what I do is I try and start my workday by 9:30. I don't really extend it from like I don't start very late. I start quite early, and I try to wrap up by say 5 or 6 p.m. And what happens usually is I divide my tasks. Yeah. So I divide my tasks as weekly tasks and daily tasks. Like weekly tasks usually are creating content for one client. I would do it for one day, like 1 week's content, one client's 1 day. So say Monday morning I would sit to do client A's content creation. I usually tend to finish it by say 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. So before lunch I usually do these weekly tasks, and then post lunch I do probably like organic engagement that I also offer to my clients. And then so that has to be done every day, right? So 1 hour I take out and do for every client possible, like 1 or 2 hours I might need for each client, for all the clients put together. And I might do some of my own story, like I would come up on my own stories, because that's also important, because I'm building my personal so you're coming up on stories or planning my own story content. So post lunch is something that I try to keep light. So in the first half is usually like more the creative, and I'm more fresh and I'm more active in the like first half of the day. So I try and keep that kind of work in the morning. And post lunch usually say any minor task, any smaller blogs that I want to write. So all of these things are usually in the during the post lunch. So that's how I divide my day.
Okay, and you also like set aside time for weekends. So if you have any other events, then you take a break those days, right?
Yes. So usually I tend to keep Saturday and Sunday off as much as possible, but Saturdays I do work. I do end up finishing a couple of pending tasks on Saturdays. But what I also have the liberty to do is, as a freelancer that we choose to do, is say there is a family event that I want to attend on a Wednesday. I can take that day off and finish that day's work on a Saturday or a Sunday. So it totally depends that way.
That could be a cool arrangement. Now, the jobs of a social media manager or a virtual assistant, it wasn't there a few years ago. It's all like the new founding job. So in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you think? How do you think these new social media managers or the virtual assistants should evolve, or what do you think could be the changes in the job scenario?
So majorly, I think that I can't really gauge what the changes will be, but what I feel like is it's every day, every job it is, you have to keep evolving if you want to improve, if you want to get promoted, or if you want to scale up the business. So for simple example, my father was working in a bank. So he's done his service for about 35 odd years. So initially when he started out, say first 10 to 15 years, there were no computers, right? They had to like manually enter everything. And then when he reached probably his 40s or 45, when usually they say that, learning, the capability of learning apparently decreases at 40 plus, when you're 40 plus. But no, the computers were introduced in banks, and didn't he learn? He did it. He got his promotions as well. So if he would say, no, I will sit and enter on my book itself, and if he would refuse to learn, he wouldn't be probably promoted. So any job it is, we have to keep learning and we have to keep upgrading ourselves. So even a doctor, for that matter, would learn the new diseases come in, like it happened.
Even as of now, the technologies, they keep changing. It's not like you learn one thing and you let it go. You have to keep yourself updated, and it has to keep changing. And
absolutely right. Like even so, with the respect to social media management or virtual assistant, like for example, my expertise is Instagram. So my most of the clients I offer Instagram services. So it happened overnight, TikTok was gone. So we were having a discussion in our group that what if overnight Instagram is gone?
Yes.
Then what would we do? Because I would 90% of my career revolves around Instagram right now. Be it be it teaching Instagram or be it working for clients on Instagram. But what I like to say is, imagine there are lakhs and millions of businesses on Instagram. So if Instagram would be off tomorrow, there needs to be something to market. There needs to be something to substitute on the other way. It will be different. It will be new because see, Instagram is different, LinkedIn is different, Twitter is different. So if there is a new app XYZ that comes up in place of Instagram, it will be different. It will take some time to learn. I've been on Instagram, like very actively on Instagram, learning Instagram for 3 to 4 years. So to balance, what do I say, to that expertise, if a new app suddenly comes up, it will be a challenge. But
it will be a challenge.
That's what life is all about, right? We have to take it as a challenge and move on and learn new things. Take it up as a challenge and learn it and be an expert in that aspect. Just don't depend on one thing.
Now, for the $1 million question, you are about to launch your own course, Zero to Action. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So it basically happened when, Sonita, who is also my friend, she told me that, listen, you've been doing this for a while now. Why don't you teach people about this? I was like, I'm not going to be I don't know how to teach. I mean, I know how to teach, but it's not something that I'm looking at the moment, probably another 2 years later. She was like, think about it. It has, there aren't really a lot of SMM plus VA coaches in India now. And this would be a great start for you as well. And for people who want to learn as well, it'll be a great, way for them as well. And then I sat down, it kind of struck in my head. I was still very, I was rejecting the idea, but I was still, thinking about it as a possibility. And that's when I realized every single day I answer about, say, 5-ish questions on my DMs about Instagram, about social media management. Hey, can you please help me with the pricing of this? I've got a blog. How do I price this? How I've gotten received an inquiry. How do I price this? And how can I send a proposal? So these kind of questions pop into my DMs every now and then, right? So that's when I thought, okay, people really need help with this. I've struggled to figure this out. I've taken several webinars. I haven't really taken social media management course or virtual assistant course. I figured this all on my own, and I know how hard it is to figure things around by ourselves. It takes a really long, but if I had a coach who would do this, I feel like I would have done it far better. I would have done it faster. I wouldn't have taken really this long to be where I am now. So that's when I thought, okay, this is not that much of a bad idea. And I've always been a teacher of the group. Like most of the time, like I used to teach, like before the exam, I used to teach my friends as to what questions might be important and things like that. So that's when I thought, like I can teach and I know what I do. So why don't I put things together and start coaching? So out of the blue, it was very sudden, and then I started my beta coaching, and even then, like beta program was launched in November, and it went up till the end of December. Even like mid-December, I was like, coaching program is not something that I will do it, but it's not something that I'm very serious about. But then towards the end of December, and say even like first week of Jan, my students from beta like actually saw results. Wow. Almost all of them saw results. They started getting clients. Every morning I had a question from a beta student. Listen, I've got a lead. What can I charge? And things like that. And what do you think? Is this the right opportunity and stuff? All of these questions. And right now, I think 2 to 3 of my students are completely booked off. They're not ready to take any more leads because they're booked off for the month. And there are students who are looking for more. They've gotten international clients as well. So I felt like this is something serious. So, and when I launched announced my wait list, there were about I think as of today there are 100 plus students inside, 100 plus leads inside, inside my wait list, waiting for ZAA to come. So that's when I realized that, okay, this actually, this actually is something that people really need. And also, if you think about it, there aren't really as much social media managers and virtual assistants, coaches in India. And when I was looking, I was doing the market research, competitor research and stuff like that, I realized that a virtual assistant coach of like Australia or US or UK is charging, when we convert it to Indian currencies, they are charging something close to 75,000 for an 8-week coaching program, which is way too much for an Indian to afford. Like, even me, I wouldn't, like, though I'm earning a decent amount of money now inside with the clients that I have, if I want to upgrade, or like I said, I learned it on my own. If I feel like I want a coach, I wouldn't be able to afford that kind of money right now. So that's when I realized that if there is somebody that really has the potential, has the talent, has the skills, as in will be able to learn the skills if I teach them, but they are not getting a coach, it's just not the good thing, right? So that's also could be one of the reasons that I have 100 plus people waiting inside the waitlist.
Well, it is actually, frankly, it is a unique offer, because you see a lot of digital marketing courses, and digital marketing courses are quite very extensive. It is not like specific as such. They include bits of VA, they include bits of social media management, but this is like specifically, and it's like you can see yourself go and say, I want to be a VA, or I want to be a social media manager, and you have exactly the right credentials for it. So I think it's off to like a great start. Do you think now a lot of people are going on to take up online jobs and become VAs and everything? Do you think the market is going to get saturated, like there are going to be a lot of them giving the services, or do you think that it is still less, considering the requirement for such SMMs and VAs that will rise in the future?
Yeah. So this was also one of the thoughts that I had. Like, what if? What if there are a lot of what if the competition rises?
Yes.
Yes. So inside ZAA, I teach how to get international and Indian clients as well. Right? So what I realized when I was just doing some research for work is there are over 6 lakh restaurants in US. Okay. Now put together the entire world. How many restaurants are there? And now put together the other businesses. Now I just gave you the example of restaurants, but there are hundreds of other businesses that would need a social media manager. Like it can be an e-commerce website, it can be a designer, any type of designer, wedding planner, basically anybody, like a personal brand person, like a YouTuber, anybody and everybody needs somebody to manage their social media platform. And as of now, with the kind of effect the social media marketing has, any business should be on like a social media platform, not just Instagram per se, but any social media platform to reach a larger audience, which they can't just do it with having like a offline store or an offline office, right? So that's when I realized that there is huge demand for this business, for this freelance opportunity, that there are so many businesses. You can even finally niche down to, listen, I'm taking only restaurants now. If you do that, you would be able to succeed.
To maintain this entire work-life balance and your schedule and everything, do you do anything to keep your body, mind and soul fit? Any exercise routines that you follow? Any yoga, meditation? What do you do for that?
So initial first, I think 6-7 months, I didn't really do much. I used to try to do yoga, but you know how it is. Morning we wake up a little late and then we get a little procrastinated and we tend to kind of postpone and push. But when we are, I realized that we work on a laptop all through the day. We have like a posture. It just the stress builds up. Yeah, stress totally builds up. But the thing is, recently, I think about 3 months ago, I got home a puppy. And the puppy's, the puppy has been doing quite a lot to my physical exercise. And it's been a month that I've been walking with her every day. And initially, again, I used to feel like, "Arey, I have to take her for a walk. No, nobody else can do it," or what type of attitude I had. But obviously, nobody else could do it because I brought her home. I had to take up the responsibility, and she had to go on a walk because we live in we don't have a lot of space outside my house, so we have to. She has to get the exercise.
Yeah,
She can't run around in the house. So they need physical exercise. So I had to take her for a walk. But recently, I think about a week or 2 weeks from now is when I felt like I genuinely enjoy these walks. I look forward for these walks now because though it feels like an effort to
Stand here. He wants attention.
He's wondering like I'm talking to you and you're talking to me. Beach mein, what do I do? Nobody's talking to me.
Let it be. Yeah. So using that, I think it's also a very great time for bonding with with the dog is also excited, and you could also possibly meet other people who come with their dogs, and you could make friends and.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, like I didn't know. We moved to this house I think about 3 months ago itself, like right before the puppy came. So I didn't know a lot of people outside. Like I don't know any neighbors. I don't know a lot of people here. But now I've got like a couple of chotu motu friends because they like to play with my puppy, and we end up talking, and it's really nice to socialize with new people in the evening rather than just sit inside the house and work, because also we're not going out anywhere. So it sometimes gets to us, like just not sitting inside and working kind of gets to the head sometimes.
Yeah.
Specifically for the pandemic. We can't even go out for like we couldn't even go out for like dinners and stuff before. Now though it's getting much better.
Yes. So Anagha, over the past few months, as you grew in your professional terms from a freelancer, and I'm sure you're also growing your own team, and you have also become a coach now, and you're going to have a lot of students, and everyone is going to look up to you. So has there been any growth in the personal sense in terms of your character building or in terms of personality because of your career, because of what you had to, face, or the hurdles or whatever changes happen in your career? Because of that, has there been any personal growth that has happened?
Yeah, massively, because like I said initially, I had severe lows in my career before I stumbled upon social media as a career. About for a year or so, I was almost in a depressed state. Like I'm a super career oriented girl, but my career wasn't just falling into place, and I couldn't see what I could do about it. Like what is that one thing that I could do to kind of to have like a earning source or have like a purpose in life.
No.
Then once social media eventually like fell into place, and I really felt like, okay, this is something that I can do really long term. I can figure stuff and do things. I have learned, I would say I battled out of that sad phase, and then I'm happy now. So this has finally, like the entire growth has finally made me realize that we have to wait for things to fall into place. I used to feel, okay, from the next month, I need to earn X amount of money. No, that's not going to happen. You're going to start with, say, 5,000, 7,000 a month as a freelancer, and then only will you be able to scale it 10 times. No, it doesn't happen overnight. I used to feel like, okay, I don't have anything right now, but next month onwards, I should look for something that will give me 30,000 a month. How will it happen? It won't happen overnight, right? So those are the main learning. So the main learning is I feel things will fall into place. One, you need to make an effort. Two, it doesn't happen overnight. It's going to be slow, but it's going to happen. And other than that, in general, I feel like I've become a better person because I used to be very, like, generally very bored. I had 100 things in my mind, but none of it I work on it. I was constantly thinking what I can do. I wanted to start my own wedding planning company, but I did nothing about it. I wanted to do, but I did nothing. So I realized that only if I do it, it will happen. I can't sit and plan it in my head and nothing will happen. Those are the little learnings I would personally also, it has changed me that, personally also it has changed me
This
because of
journey.
the career and what.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any one book or a person or something that you look forward to, like you look up to for inspiration, that has like changed the way you think or your perspective of your life? Any one thing?
I think I should mention, I can't not mention Saloni Srivastava here.
Of course.
I'm not I'm not so much of a big reader for a book to inspire me and change my life. I've been trying to read, but other than that, if I look up to somebody, if I really genuinely appreciate somebody, it's definitely Saloni. I feel like with the kind of aura she has, with the kind of ideas she has, I feel that is somebody that I wouldn't say that I want to become another Saloni. No, that's not possible. Everybody is different. But it's majorly I really love the journey she has been through. I followed her very extensively and I know her personally as well. So it's somebody that I look up to and see that if you want to become something, you have to become someone like her. Like not like her. I wouldn't say you have to go through the same journey, but something you have to pick up some things from her.
So now that because you mentioned, what do you think is the one thing a young adult could pick up from Saloni's character? Like one thing they could imbibe in themselves easily?
I would say that several things, but I would say that the chill attitude. Like I'm not saying like chalta hat, not that, she's not that, but she's very chill. Like as I'm working with her, I know that if there are any smaller mistakes that I do, or if there is anything that is she's not very particular that I want it this way, because with the kind of business she has, she's not like she gives everyone their freedom to work at their own time. She gives everyone the freedom to do, like say she asks me to write something for her. She wouldn't correct each and every line out of it. She would give me the freedom to explore my creativity. So I would see that there aren't enough people like that. They're very like they're micromanagers sometimes when it comes to their business and stuff. So I feel you have with the business perspective, but even in the personal perspective, she's very chill. She doesn't have very like, okay, this is the rule of my life or something like that. She lets things be. I like that in her character.
I think that is a very great quality. So you grow yourself and then you grow and you let others also grow.
Yes.
Right? So I think it's a great thing. Let him finish talking.
Yeah. Hi.
And
what's his name, by the way?
His name is Havish. Havish.
Hi, Havish. Havish.
Oh, it finished. Okay, so Anaga, I think with the message of let grow and let others grow, we will end this podcast on a great note. It's been wonderful chatting with you. Say bye. Wait, I'll bring some. Wait, stand there. Sit there and eat this. Don't jump on Mama. Sit and eat. Okay, so he was offering you a Cheetos, by the way, in between. I didn't have to give one more now.
Thank you.
Give one more now. Give now. Go. Give.
I have one. See, I have one ring also. See.
She also has food too. See, Priya. She's also here. Now you also emptied.
Yeah. Bye.
It's been wonderful chatting with you. I missed all the distraction. I'm so glad so, it's his turn to ask questions.
Yes.
Akin.
Havish, do you want to see my puppy?
Bobo.
Bobo Bodega.
Bobo.
Just give me a second. I'll grab her and come.
She's very fat now. She's become big now. She's become fat, so it's very difficult for me to carry.
I saw your story in which you carried her. Boo boo.
Wow. Hello,